Welcome to Business Success Navigators, brought to you by Empowering Business Inc. I'm Robyn Scobey, and today I am here with Sandra. Sandra, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here. So my name is Sandra Stepan. I am a digital marketer and an e-commerce expert. And I work with e-commerce businesses to help them scale and scale profitably. So I work in the capacity of fractional CMO, where I lead marketing departments for e-commerce stores and brands. And I also have a boutique marketing agency where, for the businesses that don't have an in-house team, we execute the work as well.
That sounds really interesting. What are some tips you could give somebody with an e-commerce business?
Oh my goodness, there are so many tips that I can give someone with an e-commerce business. So one of the tips that I can give is, first of all, get started. So if you haven't started yet, if you have a brick and mortar business or you have an idea for a brand, it is easier than ever to get started with an e-commerce business, e-commerce brand. And another tip that I can give would be to find a problem and put yourself in a unique position to solve it for customers. So where a lot of times we have ideas for products and ideas for brands that really fit us, they may not always fit the market. So find a market that has a problem and solve it through a product or through a set of products or collection.
So I know we're coming up to a new year, and with 2024, what do you feel some businesses should be focusing on?
Yeah, so 2023 marketing already has been very different than the marketing that's been done up until now. Very different than when I started back in 2016. In 2024, the trends that I see are primarily around content and branding. So imperfection and authenticity is one of the pieces that I would say brand owners, e-commerce owners, and business owners in general should focus for, and stop waiting for that perfection, whether that perfection looks like an Instagram feed or an email marketing campaign or even your website copy. Imperfection and authenticity is where the trends are going. If you look at TikTok, you look at someone who's like 20 years old that has a phone and they're recording themselves and they're getting 1 million views on a TikTok video. And then you see brands that have so many processes for approving and making sure that we follow the brand voice and guidelines and approvals and processes. And they're missing out on that authenticity. I'm not saying it doesn't have to be professional, but authentic and imperfect is totally okay. And another trend that I'm seeing in marketing going into 2024 is creating omnipresence. So with content, again, good content, valuable content, entertaining content, interesting content, being active on 1 or 2 social media platforms may have been okay a few years ago, even up until a couple of years ago, where you see most brands being active mostly on, let's say, Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. But nowadays your customers are everywhere and they're using different platforms for different purposes. So you want to create an omnipresence with content. So create content, don't wait for it to be perfect, and make sure that you're on all social media platforms where your customers are.
And I'm a little bit older, so I know there's TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. Is there more than that?
There's quite a few more than that, actually. So TikTok is the trending one right now, and it's definitely not a dancing app anymore. A lot of big businesses and brands use it. But so you have your Facebook and your Instagram platforms that are pretty much the cornerstone of your social media activities. Then you have platforms like TikTok and Twitter, or if you want to call it X, call it X. I'm not there yet. I refuse to call it X just yet. So you have Twitter, then you have LinkedIn, which is great for B2B marketing. So if you're a brand, a business, or an entrepreneur that sells to other businesses, LinkedIn is the way to go. And then you have platforms that some would consider them social media platforms, some consider them maybe a blend between social media and SEO platforms, or like search engines, actually, is what I wanted to say. Pinterest is, in my opinion, severely underutilized, especially by brands. And then you have YouTube. YouTube is also a great platform to be on and share your content, because YouTube is obviously owned by Google. So if you want to rank and you want to create that omnipresence, what better ways to distribute your content on than a platform that is owned by Google itself, right?
And see, I would never have thought of those as a social media platform or somewhere to share, because that's not how I always thought of advertising or marketing myself. So what's some of the content people should be having in their videos?
Yeah, so when it comes to your content, you want to have your audience in mind, first of all. So when you're selling something, whether it's a product or a service, you are solving, again, a problem for a group of people. So when you create content, the number one thing that you want to start with is your audience. So what does your audience want to see? What does your audience need to see that relates to where they are in their purchasing journey with you, right? So if you are let's say you're an e-commerce brand and you sell pet products, you want to create content that educates pet owners on why your products are better than your competitors, why your products are the solution to their problem, what makes your products unique, and what will make your products how your products would help your pets, for instance. So you want to keep your audience in mind when creating content. Then you also want to have a mix of entertaining content, valuable content, and educational content. So, and promotional, actually. So when I say entertaining, it doesn't have to be haha entertaining. It can be haha entertaining if that's your brand vibe and voice and style, but entertaining in the sense that it stops the scroll, right? Because people go on social media to either be entertained or to educate themselves about something or to buy. So you want to hit all those three. You want to have a bit of an eclectic collection of content. So entertaining content that will be a scroll stopper. Then you want to have a lot of valuable content. So valuable or educational content will be the content that will enable you to sell without actually selling, and say, hey, this is what I'm selling, this is what I'm saying, this is what I'm selling, right? So for instance, if I am again, going back to a brand, let's say that I am selling pet products. I'm gonna go back to the pet products. Instead of always saying, hey, buy our pet treats, buy our pet treats, buy our pet treats, you want to create content where you educate your audience about what needs to be in a pet treat, right? So why, for instance, grains may not be the best ingredient in pet treats. Perhaps what some of the ingredients that you see listed on conventional pet treats are, and how to understand if they're healthy or not. How many treats you should give to your pets, right? So I used to have personally a cat that was on the slimmer side. She was very petite, and we would just load her up with treats. And then I found out that you're not supposed to give more than like 3 to 5 treats per day. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is madness. Like she's loving those treats. Obviously, I'm going to feed her treats. So that's the sort of educational content you want to include in your content repertoire that educates your audience, your target audience, and will help you sell because you're positioning yourself as the authority in that subject matter. And then once in a while, you can sprinkle that promotional content where you can say, hey, buy our treats, buy our treats, buy our treats, but that should only be sprinkled in between that entertaining and educational content. So that would be where I would start. I would start with your audience, then I would continue with creating a mix of content that hits on the educational side, entertaining side, and promotional side.
That is actually some really good information, because sometimes I'm a scroller, right? So when you're scrolling, what catches your eye, and it's not always the funny ha-ha ones of, even though it is funny watching a pet catch their treats, and pets are hilarious a lot of the time, but my pet is hilarious to me. So giving that educational content, how can I help my dog do better and live longer?
Exactly. So when you are a brand and you are selling, let's say, these pet products, right? If you're stuck creating content, I mean, your customers and your followers, your subscribers are, in my opinion, the best source of content creation, because what you just said, right? I'm thinking about how can I help my pet live longer and be healthier. That's one question that's on your mind constantly. If you are a brand and you're stuck at what kind of content to create, ask your customers, ask your subscribers, ask your followers, and see what kind of questions they have in mind, and answer those questions before they even ask them.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's really hard to do. And I know you have a business that helps e-commerce businesses scale and everything. Is that something you're able to do completely for our listeners, or like how does
Yeah.
that work?
Yeah. So I work so my work is twofold. So primarily I work as a fractional CMO, where I create the processes, I create the operations, I either hire the team or train the team or manage a team or all of the above. I essentially lead a marketing department for brands that don't need a full-time CMO. So most of the brands that I work with, they have the tools and resources in house. They just don't know how to leverage them. So they will have, for instance, maybe they will have an ads person, and that ads person is doing great with Facebook ads and Google ads, but now they're stuck at like maybe $1 or $2 million a year, and they're looking to scale. And that ads person starts to do a little bit of marketing, but I've never in my life met an ads person that is extremely passionate about reaching out to influencers, for instance. I've yet to meet one, right? So that ads person will typically take charge of the marketing department, but they're not going to put as much importance on the other marketing areas, except for the ones where they are an expert in, which makes total sense. Or brands will have someone like a junior marketer that's great at TikTok, but I don't know how to create a Pinterest strategy and how to blend and weave Pinterest with the rest of social media. So where I come in is I create these processes and I train the team and I work with their internal resources to enable them to deliver more marketing services. Now, there are some brands that don't have an in-house team. They don't have the junior or the ads person or the SEO person or the marketing manager. They don't have that internally, and they want to work with someone that has an agency and has a team to deliver those processes. And that's how I deliver some of the work for the brands that don't have an internal team. So I do the strategy first. If they want to work with my team, they can work with my team. If they want to work with their own team, they can work with their own team.
Those are very different opposite ends of where you're working, but you really include everybody in that, right? So anybody that's really looking to have more of a presence online, you can pretty much help them.
Yes, with the strategy piece, absolutely. With the execution piece, not so much. So with the strategy piece, yes, I can help anyone that wants to invest in strategy. I typically do work with growing brands, mostly because growing brands have the budgets that are needed in order to grow, and if they've hit their heads on the wall quite a few times and they understand a few of the marketing pieces that I need to implement. And I am mostly I have most experience in working with, although I've also started my own brands, in working with growing brands, so multiple 7 and 8 figures. But on the strategy side, yes, I can absolutely work with startups as well. On the execution side, we don't work with startups. We only work growing brands.
Right. And then if you had to give anybody some marketing strategies that any business can deliver, what would those be?
Yeah. So if you're looking to deliver marketing, the one thing that you can do, and whether you're just starting out or you are a already established brand, I would say start with personal branding. So brands in 2023, 2024, now we're approaching 2024, need to be authentic. They need to have a face behind the brand. So we can no longer hide behind the computer, behind the website. We need to have our face out there as founders. And personal branding is something that anyone can do. If you're a new brand, then you can just record videos and create content and be on every single social media platform, create a community of followers that are your fans that want to hear from you, and then create a brand based on them and their needs. If you are an already established brand, personal branding can help you in boosting what you're already doing well, right? So if you're already doing great and you have a repertoire of customers and clients and partners that you're working with, a personal brand would just strengthen that. You're not going to always rely on a personal brand to grow because that's not sustainable, but that's a piece of marketing that I think can help any brand do a little bit better than what they're doing right now. And it can be free.
And everybody should have a brand. Doesn't matter what type of business you are in, everybody should have their brand and everything.
Yes. So when you create a brand, it's really more than just your website. It's more than just some social media posts. Frankly, I did not have a website until I made my first 10K month, because I didn't feel like I had a business until I made that. That was just my standard. And I didn't feel like I had a sustainable business because I was trying to help everybody. I wasn't sure exactly what kind of services I wanted to sell. Was it more within the e-com space, more within the local space? So I did not even have a website for the first little while. Branding, it's more than just the colors in the website. It really goes into your voice, your attitude, your personality, your energy, your target audience, who you're serving, why you're serving them. It goes into the why, it goes into your partners. So when you're creating a brand, you're essentially creating a kind of like a tagline for yourself and your business, right? So a personal brand can be intertwined with your business brand, but I would argue that everybody who is a founder, who is looking to grow their current business, grow their current brand, or build multiple ones, should have their own personal brand that is also separate from their business brand. Because a business you can always sell, right? And a lot of founders want to sell their businesses, but your personal brand, that's something you're not going to sell.
Right. This was really informative. I think our viewers would absolutely want to get to know you a little bit more. How would they do that?
Yeah, I'm active on social media, so primarily on LinkedIn. If you look up Sandra Stepan on LinkedIn, you'll find me there. And you can also connect with me on my very soon brand new website, sandrastepan.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much today for being a guest. Was there anything else you wanted to add for any of our viewers?
I think that's about it. I'm going to actually go back to the content creation, since we talked about it so much. It does not have to be perfect, but it has to be done. So your personal brand is one thing that you can do as a business, as an entrepreneur, and creating good, valuable content is going to only help you. So don't wait for that perfection. Just go for it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.